Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Boxiest, and today we're going to continue the What If series. What if events had gone differently? And in this What If, we're going to change the history of Cobra Kai. What if Johnny joined Terry Silver during the events of Cobra Kai Season 5, Part 2? If you haven't seen Part 1, I would recommend you go watch it before continuing this one. So in this timeline, Johnny would continue to help run Cobra Kai, and Daniel and Chosen would still go to Mike Barnes. But much like in the original timeline, by this point Terry Silver would have already burned down his store. Mike would be mad, and he would blame Daniel, but Daniel would tell him that it was Terry Silver, and that they needed his help to take him down. And Daniel would also tell him about Johnny, how he was a former sensei at Miyagi Fang, but that he joined Terry Silver. But Mike would get mad, and he would say that he could take Johnny on, so Mike would want to confront Johnny and Terry Silver at the Cobra Kai dojo. So Daniel, Chosen, and Mike would show up at the flagship dojo. Terry Silver would be amused to see Mike after all these years, but Mike would want to get payback on Silver, and he would want to fight him, but Chosen would stop him, and he would say that this wasn't a time to attack, so Mike would back down, and the events of Season 5 would carry on. Since Mike Barnes had teamed up with Daniel and Chosen, Terry Silver would want to get more senseis for Cobra Kai, so he would still get Sensei Kim Dae-yoon and her senseis. Those events would stay the same, and she would start teaching the Cobra Kai students the way of the fist. Sensei Kim Dae-yoon would continue training the students, and she would train them in the no mercy philosophy. Johnny would see this, and he would confront Sensei Kim, but Sensei Kim would tell Johnny that there was no room for mercy in the way of the fist. Those events would carry on. Daniel would hear that Terry Silver had gotten more senseis, and he would want to know Terry Silver's plan, so he would have no choice but to visit Kreese in prison. Kreese wouldn't want to talk to Daniel, but Daniel would tell him that Johnny had teamed up with Silver, and that he also got a bunch of new senseis from South Korea. Kreese would feel even more betrayed, hearing that Silver had teamed up with Johnny, and Kreese would remember that the enemy of your enemy was your friend, so Kreese would tell Daniel that he would only help him if he helped him prove his innocence. Daniel would agree, so Kreese would tell Daniel about Terry Silver's plan of the Saikai Taikai, and much like in the original timeline, Daniel would still trick Kreese, and those events would stay the same. Cobra Kai would start training for the Saikai Taikai, but this is when Daniel, Chosen, and Mike would show up, and they would want to convince the judges to let them compete, so Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai would start training for the Saikai Taikai. Mike Barnes would teach Miyagi-Do more offense, and each dojo would still have to choose a male and female fighter, so Miyagi-Do would still pick Hawk and Sam. And at Cobra Kai, Terry Silver would choose Tori and Miguel, and Terry would still teach Miguel the Silver Bullet technique. The night of the match, Hawk and Miguel would fight. Hawk would use a combination of offense and defense, while Miguel was mainly using offense. Miguel would start to get more aggressive, and he would land a point on Hawk. The fight would continue. Johnny would start to notice that Miguel was fighting the same way that he was fighting during the first All Valley, and that he was starting to fight dirty. The fight would continue, and the score would be 2-1. This is when Miguel would decide to use a silver bullet on Hawk, and Hawk would fall on the ground, so Miguel would defeat Hawk in this timeline. Cobra Kai would celebrate, but Johnny would be worried about Miguel. Sam and Tori would still fight, and since the referee was on Tori's side, Tori would defeat Sam, so only Cobra Kai would qualify for the Saikai Taikai in this timeline, so Miyagi-Do would go home in defeat. Johnny would realize that maybe joining Silver wasn't the best idea, and that Cobra Kai's teachings were turning his students into something he didn't want them to be. So later that night, Johnny would go visit Daniel at his house, and that is where I'm going to end part 2. Thank you guys for watching. What do you guys think would have happened if Johnny joined Terry Silver during the events of Cobra Kai Season 5? Let me know in the comments below. YouTube lets me know that the majority of you are not subscribed, so if you guys could subscribe, that would be much appreciated. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. And I'll see you guys next time.